Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to the Huddle. It's Thursday, which means we're almost to Friday.
Yay! Friday Eve.
Because
Rachel,
of that,
how's your morning going? Just for everyone else's edification.
Wait, say that again, Dan?
How's your morning going today? Just so everyone knows what you're dealing with today.
Sean and Dan know this because I was texting them about it this morning. My toddler had a blowout. And it was a good time of cleaning up big messes this morning.
Big mess.
Parents of young children can appreciate, just scrambles everything, but she's off to preschool, so we're all good now. Okay, let's start with something fun. HHS Secretary RFK sat down with Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, for a podcast. And there's this funny little bit out there about him talking about the president having a, quote, unhinged diet. He says the interesting thing about the president is he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's and, candy and Diet Coke. And yet he has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. This always has cracked me up as somebody like the president who super, successful businessman, has made a ton of money eating McDonald's. It's amazing.
I don't know about you. There's people in my life that have that sort of metabolism and process where they're you don't do anything, you look great. And then I got people that I know that work out to their heart's content, eat rabbit food, and they're like, okay, it's like
you eat one M&M, it goes to your hips.
But it's true. I mean, look, the guy, he is not a healthy eater. From a traditional sense, he does eat steak a ton and drinks Diet Cokes but he is the guy. I mean, think about his stamina. He's a machine.
I mean, it is remarkable at his age to be his age, to be obese, to not exercise. And yet he is, to Sean's point, it's like someone who smokes and drinks and lives to 100 and someone who exercises and drops dead of a heart attack at 50. Like, God bless the genes he got.
He gives
you always hear that story of someone's grandfather, and you're like, "What's the secret to your age?" And he's like, "I have 4 moonshines every night, and then I
pack a Camel cigar,
Marlboro Reds." Yeah, no kidding. No, it gives me hope for my husband, who has the diet of a 12-year-old as well, living potentially past 60 or 70. Okay, guys, let's jump in. A couple housekeeping notes here are. For our premium subscribers, we've had a bunch of you sign up. Really appreciate your support. We're going to start having this conversation tomorrow. So again, after the show, around 9:30, I think we said 9:35. I can't remember.
Give ourselves a few minutes stretch.
Right. We're going to
change outfits, wardrobe change.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
Yeah, of course. Of course. We're going to be talking to the folks who are in the premium subscription. Make sure you sign up, get that link, join us. It'll be a more personal conversation. You'll get to know us a little better. So I'm excited about that. Sean has a prior commitment, so it's just going to be Dan and I tomorrow. But you'll get both of us, and it'll be fun. We also have a special guest tomorrow. We're going to be bringing on Rokana, the progressive from California,
for the whole show, not just for subscribers.
Yes. This is going to be interesting conversation. He's made some news lately, including by saying that he thought the ICE officer who shot Renee Good should be arrested. Obviously, I think you've heard from all three of us that we disagree, but we will have a conversation with him about that and a bunch of other things and just go through news of the day. It'll be really, really interesting. Okay, today's top 5, we're going to talk about ICE getting attacked in Minnesota. 2 more people shot. Has Iran really stopped the killing? There's suggestions by the president that they have, but we'll see. Greenland has a fundamental disagreement with the U.S., even after meeting with the vice president yesterday and Marco Rubio. The speaker says he's totally in control of his chamber. Wrong.
Did anyone else think of Animal House when they read that line? Totally. I mean, I thought of Kevin Spacey who was it? Kevin Bacon just getting run over as he's like, remain calm. All is well.
I think about that meme where the dog is in the fire, the burning house. And he said, what does he say? He says, everything's fine. Yeah, no, everything's not fine. And then we'll talk about this FBI raid of a journalist's home as well. Okay, first, the daybook. So just to note at the top here that open enrollment for Obamacare ends today. Why does that matter? It matters because senators were trying to get a deal by today to extend the subsidies. Could there be a bipartisan deal? Instead, senators are going to be leaving town for a long weekend and a recess with no deal in sight, which is just kind of poetic.
And I believe the numbers are about 3.5 million under last year. Now, we could have a big surge today, but it does appear, even with population growth, there is millions of people have left.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say this, just I think one of the things that frustrates me is when, not you, but when, like, I read a New York Times story that said clearly showing that the cost is the driver. There's a lot of Republicans that believe that there are phony people on that plan, that there are 3 to 4 million people that were pushed to those plans into the exchange to get the subsidy of the insurance company. So I don't know, but I will say that it's worth it. It is an interesting dynamic. I think for a lot of people, the cost of this healthcare that was supposed to be affordable is skyrocketing. But there's a lot of factors that I think are probably at play.
Yeah, I guess I just wonder if after this they're going to finally just admit that no deal's coming together and move on. But I don't know. That we'll see. I guess we'll have to see. 11 o'clock.
And by the way, the DCCC thanks you if that's the case.
But you know who else would think? There's a lot of Republicans. We've talked about this. A lot of Republicans want to move on from healthcare. I have a column coming out today about this as well, and some squawking we've seen, including by some chairmen who are saying, we can't do this, et cetera. But we'll get to that at some other point.
By the way, sorry to interrupt you, Rachel.
Oh.
The president has just done a Truth Social threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota.
Oh boy.
So,
Sean, breaking news.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Minnesota?
Look, I think that at some point we can get into this. I'm literally writing an entire column for SeanSpicer.com tomorrow about this, because I think this is what the left wants. They want chaos.
Let's save it for Minnesota.
Okay, we'll get to all that, including what does that mean? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? So, okay, 11 o'clock, the president's going to be receiving his intelligence briefing. At 12:30, he's going to be meeting with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. This comes a day after he praised, as we mentioned yesterday, Maduro's ally, who is the current leader right there, Delcy Rodriguez. Exactly. What do you think? Does anything come out of this meeting, you think, Sean?
By the way, can I just because I always go to the most esoteric aspect of things. You realize he's lunching with her at 1. I think, what is Caroline briefing at 12?
No, he's lunching at 12:30. Caroline is briefing at 1.
1. Right. So they are intentionally trying to overshadow this. Because this normally you'd see her come in, there'd be open press, she'd go to the sticks. You think about what's going on right now. So let's just say the lunch lasts an hour. Caroline will likely be briefing. You're a reporter in the briefing room. Do you get up? Do you go to the sticks, which is this area right outside that West Wing door, outside the press briefing room, where they've got all the wires run. And so when you see an official kind of walk out, that's what they colloquially call that. I think that this actually was very planned to make sure that they downplayed Machado's visit.
All right, just quickly, guys, is the Nobel Peace Prize on the mantle in the Oval by the end of the day?
Yes.
Yeah, although it's funny, you saw the Norwegians come out and say it's non-transferable.
Yeah,
it's like a gift card.
It's a medal, right? There's nothing against her giving him the actual medal, but of course she would still be the recipient.
And everybody re-gifts the Peace
Prize.
You
took my line. That was going to be it. The ultimate re-gift. You cannot one up that.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely happen. And she's
But you know what the best part is?
Take it. No, I insist. Take it. I never wanted this to begin with.
But the thing that sucks is if you're Machado and there's no press there, it's like a tree falling in the forest. Do you the whole?
Well, what if he brings the press in for the award? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're right, Sean. There's usually he would bring the media in for this. He loves to have the media. That's why I'm telling you.
So what will happen though, just so you know, is I would guess that they would have the pool sort of in a standby location.
Right. Right.
Dan Scavino, we all have to be looking on social media.
Margot.
Someone will have that photo.
Margot Martin.
There you go. Yep. Cue it up.
And she'll get 1 million retweets and followers from it.
By the end of lunch. Yep.
Okay.
My favorite, by the way, just as a side note, I want to say this for the record, is going to be Trump's expression. He always looks like it's for me?
Yeah.
No way. No. Yeah. Okay. He's going to look shocked. No. All right.
Okay, 4 o'clock, the president's going to host the 2025 Stanley Cup champions, Florida Panthers. Of course, me, total sports idiot. I was like, it's hockey, right?
Oh,
they scored the most touchdowns in the fourth quarter. of the Stanley Cup, they got more home runs than the other one. But
By the way, of all the major
entire
sports
season, more
leagues,
touchdowns.
of all the major sports leagues, with all Sean and Rachel, weigh in if you agree. The best trophy, the Stanley Cup. Like of all the
really
things you
big and
win,
pretty,
you
right?
hold it. Yeah. Just,
Okay, guys,
Yes,
let's
Dan.
jump in. Let's talk about ICE in Minnesota. Let's before we talk about the Insurrection Act and this Truth Social post, let's give a little context for listeners who weren't following last night. So a federal an ICE agent, I don't know if it was just one or multiple, they shot a Venezuelan immigrant in the leg last night after he attacked them, by the way, with a shovel and a broom.
Well, hold on. He was stopped. He was stopped at a traffic stop, and then
fled.
It sounds like fled. Yeah. So I mean, there's
chase, long car chase, foot chase. He runs into his home. Right? It sounds like it's his home. And then a fight happens.
Yeah.
And he shot in the leg, but again, after picking up a shovel and going at
multiple people. I think the allegation is three illegal immigrants attacked an ICE officer. So yeah, just to give context.
And as I noted in our group chat this morning, let me just pull this up. So again, those are, I think, all agreed upon in terms of the facts. Like, I chased, attacked the agent with a shovel and a broom, and the New York Times headline is "Federal Agent Shoots Immigrant in Minneapolis."
Well, I think, look, I mean, I'll just start with this because it goes to where you're going, Sean, which is I was on air last night on News Nation when this broke. And the first thing that we all agreed off camera is unless there's video, half the country is simply not going to believe what DHS says. They just aren't. And that is a just unfortunate reality, right? A lot of Democrats believe ICE has, fudged stories, if not outright made up stories. And so if those facts are true, then it's huge. I mean, an illegal immigrant attacking an ICE officer and intentionally trying to harm, evading the arrest, total justification, it would sound like, to use your weapon to defend yourself. But to half of America, it is just like, I don't believe it.
Yeah, but how much of that is the fault of the Democrats, some Democratic leaders, Dan? I mean,
It's
they're outright accusing ICE of, targeting Americans, criminal activity, like.
Well, I mean, look, this is the thing.
Occupying Minnesota, like.
Well, so to you and I, so you say partly the fault of the Democrats. Yes, is the answer. The flip side to that is, has DHS embellished and told stories about incidents that haven't been true? Yes. So the problem is, just like when Biden was in control, and after a while, a lot of Republicans and MAGA just stopped believing anything he said. Yeah. You now have on the other side our version of fake news.
Yeah. And also the lack of investigation. Remember, we've talked about that.
Totally.
And that's why I think that, I said this before. Did Renee Good break the law? Yes. I mean, I don't think that's not but was she a domestic terrorist? No. Mm. And I think this is where what's happened. And again, why I argued that Minnesota should be part of the process. It's not because it's more just, if you're DHS and you want that credibility, you want that support, then don't do things that counter it. And I think Kristi Noem hasn't been helpful in this process.
Before we get to the Insurrection Act, again, more context here, because after this happened, there were a ton of protesters that showed up last night to this area, started vandalizing things, spray painting cars, kicking in windows, and it got so bad.
Very peaceful.
The Minnesota police chief, Brian O'Hara, who, by the way, has been critical of ICE, right? He came out and said everyone needs to leave the scene. He said protesters are engaging in unlawful behavior. And we started to see some Democrats last night actually change their tone a little bit on this. Even Mayor Fry, who is the one who said, get the F out of, Minneapolis or whatever, he told protesters to leave after they started vandalizing things. He said, anyone who's taking the bait tonight, stop. You're not helping undocumented immigrants in our city. Amy Klobuchar came out and urged residents not to go to the scene. So she said, do not do it. And now you have this tweet by the president saying,
if you don't get it under control, Yep.
But you know what the funny thing is? I would have told, and I get the president's going to do what the president. I mean, this is Trump. But at the end of the day, this is where I said this the other day. This is going to become their defund the police. Mayor Fry is responsible. If your car got vandalized, if your shop gets broken into, that's on him. He's the one who prevented the Minneapolis police from doing their job. He's the one who turned up the rhetoric. And at some point, if I were the Republicans right now, this is one would get out of the way, let this tilt over the Democrats and make them own the problem now.
Yeah,
well,
like
I will say again, just I think both sides. I mean, even going to DHS's statement last night, right? I mean, it is unprecedented that their statement was not just like a matter of fact statement. It was a Joe Biden released this person. I mean, it is, and this is the posture that we live in now, where political statements go into law enforcement statements to set narratives. I think we would all agree about that. But I do agree with you, Sean. Democrats have to be really careful this doesn't become Portland, where there are images of vandalism, of looting, of people and protesters in masks and waving Palestinian flags and lighting things on fire. We have momentum, just to be crass politically, right now until last night, and we could really blow this if we're out of control.
Well, remember, it started with a surge because Republicans were riding the wave of fraud. They surged ICE to go in and do all this. Then Democrats seized on the moment. And so it's like Republicans now need to kind of read the room too and go, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this sort of what does this mean if he invokes the Insurrection Act, guys? Like, what does that look like? And Sean, is it just sort of, again, like the art of the deal, a threat to try to get,
I actually think I think he means that.
And what does that look like?
I think more National Guard. There's something about being able to. I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask this, but I think you do suspend habeas corpus potentially. You have a huge surge in federal and National Guardsmen. I mean, there's a lot that the president gets the ability to do under the guise of an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to.
You really think he'd do it? I mean, that
I do actually. I think
huge step.
Look, we've been taught. I've said this before, but like he gets moved by imagery, whether that's people being killed in Iran or Syria back during the first term. He is moved by imagery, and when you turn on the television and see what happened last night in Minneapolis and Portland, etc., you're going to go, you know what? This is ridiculous. And so, and if you have people in your ear, which I imagine there's a few, saying, why don't you just invoke the Insurrection Act?
Yeah.
Boy, I think that would be that'd be bold. I mean, just to state the
protesters
obvious.
will respond in kind, and it.
Yeah, I think politically, I'd be curious how strong. Like, does Tom Emmer and others? How do they feel about that? Once you cross
really
that
good
line,
question for him.
Well, we'll get to this. I mean, he may have some other issues top of mind too.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to get that too. Okay, we'll be discussing this more later in the week. Tomorrow. There's only one more day left in the week. Thank God. Okay, let's move to Iran. Has the killing really stopped? So President Trump told reporters in the Oval Office yesterday that the killings in Iran have basically stopped. They've subsided, that there's going to be, that the regime is not going to be cracking down on protesters, that there hasn't been any execution. And it does, I mean, at least from what I have seen so far, we never saw that big public hanging that everybody was sort of teasing yesterday. But even some of the president's allies are skeptical that the killing has stopped. Lindsey Graham has come out and tweeted, Lindsey Graham, who's obviously a very close ally of the president, with him all the time. He says, there's every indication that I've seen that the Iranian regime's killing of protesters is very much still in full swing, and that the death toll is mounting by the hour. Sean, do you think this is a victory for the president that they didn't have this public hanging, or is it more sort of wishful thinking on his part? Do you think the killing is sort of continuing in the shadows here?
I think it's a victory. It shows that the Iranians heard him. I think that they're just like maybe not as public with it, meaning that they're not stopping. They're still a horrible regime, an oppressive regime. But I think it's a temporary win. It shows that they got the message. Hey, we're not going to, I mean, then they clearly back-channeled. Hey, we're not going to hang this guy who, and I'm sure he's not having the best night ever. He's not staying at a Hilton or something. But I think it does show that the world gets that he means it when he says it. But I also think that this also kind of complicates the situation to some degree. If they did something bad, I think it would be really easy to get everyone's support on doing something bad. You now have it's more complicated in terms of strategically what are the options that he has and what does he want to do.
Dan,
Boy,
jump in.
I don't think so. I think he made up a reason to not go right now because he doesn't have good options. I think we've talked about this. One of the like Trump doctrines is these quick, clean, definitive military strikes, right? You go in with the B-52s, you blow up a mountain and some of the nuclear stockpile. You get Maduro. You're in, you're out. He's in the New York jail 24 hours later.
Right.
That option is really not there in Iran because it is a massive country with a huge government, huge security services in an urban center with tens of millions of people. And so what is victory? What is a quick, clean, definitive outcome that Trump can go to the cameras and say, I won? Go back to what he said. I like victory. And I think by all accounts, they don't know what that is. And so appropriately so, he is like, give me more options. I need more data to make a decision. But he's walked himself up so close to the line that how do you now pause without, in my opinion, kind of making up something to give? Nobody believes they've stopped killing. Nobody. So therefore, you have said, we talked about this all week. You have drawn a red line. They have clearly crossed it. What do you do?
Yep.
Yeah, just to sort of add more flavor to your point here, Dan, this context we should know about. The president has told his national security team that any action should be quick and decisive, not spark a drawn out war. This is according to NBC, but they haven't been able to get any guarantee that that will happen.
Well,
and there's
and
another Reuters, real quick. There's another Reuters story saying that U.S. intelligence assessment just earlier this week concluded that while the protesters, yes, are a challenge for the regime, the government does not appear close to collapsing. So it's not a quick one and done sort of thing. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was going to say, I don't know that anything that they just reported is a surprise. We've known,
Right.
I mean, I've said that the president doesn't want to go in anywhere. He doesn't want to do boots on the ground. He understands the ramifications of what happens when you do more than a precise strategic strike. And then the flip side, which is there is no easy answer. Nothing, and I'm not dismissing the reporting, but I think it's just codifying what we've talked about all along, which is there is no easy answer. You can take out a military strike or a military capability, but you can't necessarily go in and support full out fundamental regime change without a full plan in place. And that's the $1 million question here.
Just a little piece of news here. It looks like the Pentagon is moving a carrier strike group from the South China Sea to the Middle East. I mean, that's significant, Sean. It seems like they are.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it should have been there to begin with. I mean, in all seriousness, there's one off of, I mean, what concerns me is you moved one off of the,
To Venezuela.
Venezuela. Yeah. There should be once you're taking the one in the seventh, in the Indo-PACOM 7th Fleet and moving that. I'm sure there'll be additional shifts, but it's you have to pick your priorities or your threats, and that's the problem.
I want to flag a story that Dan actually put in our group chat. Was it this morning or last night? It's all blending together. But there's some news of a secret détente agreement between Iran and Israel. So the regime has blamed Israel for stirring the pot, stirring up the protesters. But a news story from the Washington Post says that the two made a secret deal in December, just before the protests started, that they would not launch strikes against each other. It seems like the story. I was going to say, it seems like the story is like an attempt by either allies of Israel or something to show that they are not behind this.
Right.
I'm not really sure. Like, what do you guys make of this?
That doesn't make any sense. You have Netanyahu publicly saying he's meeting with the president to encourage him to do more.
Yeah.
I was going to say, wouldn't they be kind of proud to lean in? Although maybe there's a reverse reaction if Iranian protesters think, Israel is behind this, perhaps there's a backlash of some sort. Maybe they're getting at that.
I think it's the psychology of war and psychops. I just, to Sean's point, Netanyahu literally flew to Mar-a-Lago with, it is reported, to talk specifically about Iran. And I just,
and ask
the definition of what's there. Yeah. TBD.
Okay. Let's talk about Greenland's the fundamental disagreement over Greenland. So the meeting between the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Danish and Greenland officials didn't exactly go well yesterday. They didn't come out with a deal. The Danes left the meeting and said a fundamental disagreement continues. The president, meanwhile, continues to insist that the U.S. must control Greenland. And he says that anything less than American control of Greenland would be unacceptable. What happens now? Either Sean or Dan.
Dan,
Is
you're
there an
up.
option C?
Your turn.
Somebody? Anybody? I mean, look, we also just have to mention it because we all chuckled at this. Mitch McConnell just went nuts, by Mitch McConnell standards yesterday on the Senate floor, just saying, this is basically ridiculous what we're doing with Greenland. Look, you also have to say that European, I think it's Sweden, France, and somebody else sent troops to Greenland. They're now there to protect Greenland from the United States. Just have to say it. So I still think a deal is reached where we have a greater military presence and some first right of refusal on certain minerals in the region. And Trump will say, victory for America. And to some extent, he will be right. But the cost of getting there,
I just want to show everyone the clip of everyone getting worried about the Danes and the Swedish military. Let's go to that. Oh, wait, that doesn't exist. No one gives a crap.
Let me 90% of the American public does not want us to invade Greenland. I mean,
you know what the folks at Greenland could use, by the way? A little cozy earth. That could take the temperature down, right? Everybody, right now, if you want to take the temperature down, I think we should get everyone at Greenland and the delegation should go to cozyearth.com, use code Huddle. And I don't care whether the whole delegation, put them into some of the joggers or maybe do a campfire session with the pajamas, get them an eye mask, wrap them in the luxury towels. I mean, it's a new year, get started in comfort. That's one thing. Maybe that's the icebreaker. We should have done that. JD Vance and the team, next time there's a big meeting, the Huddle and the team at Cozy Earth, we're going to use our code Huddle for 20% off everything on the site. We'll get them fitted head to toe.
If you're going to the Bears game or the Pats game this weekend, forecast is cold. What better way to stay warm than bring your Cozy Earth blanket? I mean, you have to wrap the bubble blanket, but bring it in, stay warm.
Can you imagine if we got a big delegation, they all sat around with a Cozy Earth bubble blanket and said, okay, let's start this way. I think you'd have a much better outcome. So listen, I'm just telling the State Department, if you want, there's nothing that
use our code, guys.
The State Department from using our code. Go to cozyearth.com /huddle and start breaking the ice that way. It's a great gift. Everybody they're always looking for a gift exchange. Maybe this is the new gift exchange. Mr. Prime Minister, on behalf of the United States, here is a Cozy Earth bubble blanket and an eye mask.
And in return, we're going to give you Greenland. Right?
Exactly.
There you go. They're just that good. The blankets are just that good.
That could be the deal. We just gave them an idea that no one else has thought of.
I will say, though, on a serious note, Sean, if you're the White House, you got all this stuff going on, right? I mean, you were talking about Iran and the stress of that, Minnesota. Do you cool it on Greenland a little bit? I mean, I'm sure he'll come back to it at some point, but do you keep so publicly when you see 90% of America is kind of against this?
No, and I'll tell you why. There's a Susie Wiles quote in that Vanity Fair piece that the president genuinely believes that there is nothing he cannot do. And that's just the psychology.
And also, just remember, this isn't a new issue. He's been on Greenland since term one. So,
remember, it was the first thing after he was elected. The first kind of big, stunt, whatever you want to call it, was Don Jr. and God bless his soul, rest his soul, Charlie Kirk, going to Iceland. Remember that? We were watching it live as they touched down right as we came on air. Been in the focus for a while.
Last thing I want to mention on Greenland, then we'll move on to the chaos that is the House of Representatives.
Domestic chaos. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Don Bacon said yesterday that it would be impeachable if the U.S. tried to take over Greenland. We don't hear Republicans talking about this often. Granted, this guy's retiring. He's already been a vocal opponent. And by the way, I don't think just because McConnell took to the Senate floor and did a strong speech on this, I don't think the president really, gives a shit. Pardon my language, but
No one does.
anyway,
But
okay.
you do have to pick your battles with your own party. I mean, and he's picking them.
But also, like, this is what I said yesterday. Everybody's got to slow their roll. Like, we bought Alaska, Louisiana Purchase, where this ends up. Let's just calm down. There's no question that this is strategically important. So let's see what we end up with. No one, I mean,
Well, Sean, calm down, because people are getting inflamed with some of the rhetoric out of the White House. I mean, but okay, I get your point.
Okay, let's move on to the House. So I feel like I sound like a broken record on this. Speaker Mike Johnson having another crappy week. Surprise, surprise. Another bill failing on the floor amid their sort of slim margins. And he was forced to postpone not one, not two, but 3 other bills from consideration just because they didn't have the votes. You're starting to hear Republican members in the House complaining. Why are they bringing bills up when we don't have the votes? When we have told the leadership that we're against certain things. I want to start first.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
Please,
I mean,
jump in, Sean.
Here's the deal. Back in the day, when I was on the Hill at one point, Tom DeLay, when he was the whip, I mean, he knew what time you went to bed, what you ate for breakfast. Yeah. It's easy being the whip, which is the person in leadership, the number 3 person that's in charge of counting votes. It's easy when you're in the minority, because it's like you wake up and you go, hey, we got the vote. We're all against it, whatever it is. When you're in the majority, it's harder. When you're in a slim majority, it's really hard. But Rachel, you remember you were going up on the Hill and you're like, hey, is there anything I should ask folks? And I literally joked with you. I said, how are you checking in on people's surgery? And I said, and I'm being serious. Yeah. The idea, when you look at the story of the vote that went down yesterday, and members were on the record saying, we didn't even get asked how we were voting. Mm-hmm. That is a fundamental flaw in the whip operation. And members should be asking questions about this. Because if they're not even asking, if the whip operation isn't even going, so remember the way it works, you got a whip, then whatever X number of chief deputy whip, then 5 or 10, whatever deputies, and then a bunch of assistant whips. And it's like a little exercise where everybody's got 5 people on their team and you check in with your 5. Hey, Bobby says he's yes. So and Susie says she's a maybe, whatever. And then you get a sense of where the vote is. The idea that they didn't whip a vote and understand where their members were
not once, not twice. 3 times in 24 hours.
Members should be pissed if that's blatant malpractice.
And the fact that, I want to say too, Nancy Pelosi would never, ever.
That's where I was going to go with this.
She always says, you do not bring a bill to the floor unless you know the outcome of the bill. And I think the fact that Johnson walked off the floor and looked everyone in the eye and said, quote, I am totally in control. The reason you don't allow this is it weakens you. Your members say they're not competent. I can't trust them. They've put me in a bad spot. And you just bleed capital. And for a guy who doesn't have a lot of capital, because everyone believes Trump is really the speaker, it is not a good omen, because your members now yes, no one pays attention to the floor of the Capitol. But after a while, the general public maybe starts to say, they can't run the place. I'm going to vote him out of office.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think the general public respectfully
not right
is
now,
paying attention to but I do think if I'm a member of the conference and I say, how the heck did you guys not know? Like, you didn't even ask me how I was voting, and then you yanked the bill. Johnson should be looking at the whip operation and saying, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, how are you running this? This does not reflect what, and again, this is the thing that's way over the head, but it's inside baseball stuff, but it's the stuff that matters. I mean, look,
you have a budget coming. You have all sorts
you have
of
to
stuff
assume if you're the speaker, and one of the answers that one of the members gave is, well, there was a unanimous vote of the Republicans on the committee of jurisdiction. Okay, great. But like, it's just, I can't, Tom DeLay would have never allowed, it's embarrassing.
2 quick thoughts on this. So this obviously raises questions about reconciliation 2.0. Like, if they can't even pass, standard bills like this, how the hell are they going to pass a massive, reconciliation package that includes healthcare and a whole bunch of other stuff? I just don't see that happening. And on that, Jason Smith, who's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, he's the guy who would take the lead writing a second reconciliation bill. He was asked about this yesterday, and his quote is, I was just looking for it in my phone, "There's simply no path to a second one. I'd love to, but the reality is it won't ever happen." So there is still, discrepancies between the leadership, the speaker saying we're going to do this, and some of his own top lieutenants who are saying this is a bad idea. And the reason I bring this up, in addition to this whole, vote going down on the floor, is the frustration with the speaker is like very real. We've talked about this. I keep hearing from Republicans who are like, who's advising him? Like, who is his kitchen cabinet? Like, there's a real concern that Johnson himself, is a very smart, intelligent man, but like, you need to have a stable sort of group of advisors around him. And I know this is very inside baseball, but I'm hearing from a lot of people who are really worried that just doesn't exist right now. So this problem is probably going to continue. Do you think, Sean, last note on this, if Republicans lose the House, could he be minority leader, or there's no way?
There's a way, but I actually think that there's a house cleaning. I mean, you remember both Scalise and Emmer ran for speaker and came up short. And I think after what they've now seen in terms of the whip operation, I don't think it's just Johnson. I think that the whole team would have a hard time staying in. Scalise probably the least of the three. He might be able to stay, but I don't even know that he could stay. He might go back to being the whip, which is what his previous job. But I think if they lose, the problem right now is I know Jim Jordan's probably waiting in the wings. There's a couple others.
Do you think Jordan really does want to be leader?
100%.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think he didn't for a really long time. He sort of scorned leadership, but then he became close with Kevin McCarthy, started to get wins from leadership, and then saw the potential.
But the reason I ask is the last 4 or 5 Republican leaders have just gotten run out of town. And if you're Jordan, do you prefer going on cable and popping off and being the true conservative and the hero to the movement? Or do you want to own the poop and have to force votes on stuff you personally?
But remember, wait, there's 2 different things. If he becomes the minority leader, if the House rules it, that's an easy job. You're the bomb thrower and the defender of the Trump agenda.
The greatest job in Washington. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
That assumes Trump's still super popular. I don't know. Yep.
Okay, let's do our, I think this is our last topic.
By the way, just think about this real quickly. Jordan, let's just say, and let's say if the Dems take the House, Jordan says, I'll be minority leader. Trump supports him because you get, he's going to be a bomb thrower. And then Trump's out. You bank, if you're Jordan, that, hey, you get rewarded, meaning, the party then, the electorate then wants a Republican House back.
Yeah.
And now you've earned the speakership. And it
could be a good day for Ohio. They could have a president and a speaker.
Yeah.
Let's hit our last topic here before we move to questions. It's this: the FBI raided a home of a Washington Post reporter yesterday. Again, more of a Beltway New York story than a national one. And this was part of a classified leak investigation into this contractor who he has already been arrested. He was arrested before this raid, it sounds like. This reporter was not the target of the investigation, but the FBI took her phone and her laptop. Look, I know a lot of conservatives are sort of cheering this, but like, not to get on a soapbox here, but I just feel like this is something they absolutely should not be cheering. I mean, like, this gut instinct, I get it, from conservatives to sort of bash the media because of their leftward bend, because of what they perceive as sort of unfair coverage. I get that totally, but this is a totally different thing when you raid a journalist's home, take their stuff, to find out, their sourcing, et cetera. And it really calls into question, the freedoms of the press, which the Supreme Court has long upheld and which is obviously good for democracy. And the other thing I want to say is just consider this, right? Like, in a future presidency, say it's a President AOC, and she and her administration decide to go after a Nick Shirley and seize all his stuff. And if the shoe is on the other foot, people would be freaking out. And they did freak out. Sean, I know you disagree with me, so definitely go ahead.
Here's what I disagree with, though. Explain it. Like, let's go to the facts. What do we know? Mm-hmm. We know that there's a contractor that was arrested for possessing and spreading classified information. Correct? Right. True?
Correct. Already arrested, by the way.
Okay. Right. So that's a fact. because I had a lot of conversations with media reporters yesterday. What do I think? Am I cheering this on? And I said, the answer I give them is I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Because if this reporter, so she has a history of talking to whistleblowers and sources or whatever.
Yeah.
Possession of classified information is illegal. Okay. You don't get a pass because you have a press pass. If it's classified information by law is illegal to possess. Okay. Full stop. So if this person, this contractor gave her classified information and she was storing it on her laptop, on her phone, etc., that's illegal. They have a right to come in and sanitize it to make sure that it's not being picked up. Like, again, this whole idea is just because of her job, she gets a pass.
I hear you on that.
True. So what I said to reporters yesterday is, why are you reflexively saying it's an attack on the press if you don't know the facts? And that's the fact. We don't know why that phone was taken yet. We don't know if she had classified information. And until we do, as much as there's some conservatives that are reflexively cheering it on, every reporter yesterday reflexively said this is an attack on the press without knowing the facts.
Okay, a couple thoughts on this real quick.
Both things can be true.
So if reporters couldn't have access to classified, I get it. You should the government absolutely has to investigate these sorts of things and trail them down. But when it comes to reporters and classified information, I mean, if they think about the Pentagon Papers, think about the mass surveillance of Americans.
Hold on, Donald Trump likely is not president if Julian Assange does not leak all that stuff to the Russians. Sean, that stuff totally impact. I'm not saying they played a part in it.
Yes.
We fought that fight, but you cannot deny that all that information illegally obtained by somebody did not
given to a reporter. Okay, but there's more than that, I want to say, and that is, reporters sort of have a history, and maybe this isn't
for the record. I believe that Assange broke the law.
Listen, just a few weeks ago, the New York Times, and I believe it was the Post, maybe even from, this story and this investigation of this reporter, but they had the information about the U.S. operation in Venezuela to take Maduro. They didn't publish it. And over the years, reporters do this often. Like if they think troops are in jeopardy, they think it's going to infringe on national security, it's a big, they won't publish it and they'll hold. But you can also, if you think a reporter has classified information, like reach out to them and say, like, there's supposed to be an accommodation process. Like you reach out, you say, we're concerned about this because of this. Like you need to get rid of that. Like a conversation can be had. I don't think most reporters want to endanger national security. But anyway, I digress.
Well, but I also
very
want
inside
to
the
just
Beltway
say,
discussion. But
I want to just add that I think the three of us would agree. Fundamentally in this country, you should not always trust your government. Democrats and Republican administrations lie and do things they should not do. And it is the power of a free press that holds that government accountable, whether it's, it is a small scale, but Nick Shirley and the man on the street or the people at the New York Times, in both administrations, you're around the game long enough. You have a healthy skepticism of your government. And Sean, I would rather the journalists make the mistake of printing the classified information than not. It in the long run, we're a better country for it.
Okay,
That's
the
my
law
opinion.
again. This gets back to it's like immigration. There's a law. You either follow it or you don't. The law right now says it's illegal to possess it. You don't get a pass. Nick Shirley didn't do anything classified.
I hear you. That's why it's a little bit of an apple.
There's no equivocation.
I hear you.
I'm very skeptical of the government.
What? Here's the other thing, though. Why did they need it? Because they already got this guy, right? Like they got this guy.
So let me give you an example. During the issue, during the whole Russiagate thing, when the dossier came down, what is technically referred to as Annex A, the Steele dossier. When the BuzzFeed produced it, I have a security clearance. I could not go look at it on an open source thing. That's illegal. I had to go into a SCIF and have it presented in a secure environment. Just because it's in the public does not give you the right as someone who possesses classified as a security clearance. There are procedures for doing this. It seems silly maybe, but once you put it on your phone and somebody can hack it, There's a whole reason and process for it. You may not like it, but there are laws, there are procedures, there are things that have to be followed. So let's just be honest. So this person, who again we all just agreed on, according to the government, according to every journalistic source, says that this individual was in possession and leaking classified information. If they took a document of some nature and gave it to a Washington Post reporter who then put it on their cell phone and their phone, the government wants to make sure that that's not able to be hacked, that it's cleansed, that it's sanitized, so that it can't be hacked and accessed. We don't know what it was. The reporter, by the way, hasn't said a word. If she's so innocent, why wouldn't she come out and just say a statement? I never got
lawyers, I'm sure, don't want her to say.
Wait, hold on. So what? Okay, then why wouldn't the lawyer come out and say, this is an absurdity? Like this, our reporter did nothing wrong. They have no classified information. I actually thought that was an interesting little nugget that wasn't revealed. If I were accused of something, the first thing I'd say is I'm innocent, or I'd have my lawyer say I'm innocent. Not a peep from the Post. No one at the Washington Post, from the editorial page to the senior, from the publisher to the editors, have said anything about the nature of what she possessed or didn't. And that to me is a big tell.
There's still a possible accommodation process, and that, is supposed to happen first.
No, it's not supposed to happen. No, that's not true. It can happen. I've been on the flip side of this. It can happen. On the other hand, we don't know what the nature of the classified information was. If the government doesn't want her to know, God, you just took something and you have no idea how big of a deal that is, I don't want you to know.
John, I will remember how much you trust and love our government's judgment.
No.
Unbelievable.
I said there's a big difference between being skeptical of the government
and classified info.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way,
so hold on a sec then. So all those papers in Mar-a-Lago, people should be held accountable for classified info.
No, first of all, I've been clear, Dan. I believe that classified information should be handled differently. But I do think, again, what's the law say? The president of the United States.
They were enforcing the law. The issue was whether they should do it to Trump.
And the law says the president has the right to declassify stuff and possess it. There also is a history of the National
Archives. But he never, I mean, that's the farce of this, but okay. All right.
I was going to say, but you keep referring to the law. There is a 1980s law that bars the search warrant of reporters' work materials unless they are suspected of the crime themselves. I mean, there's a lot of technicalities here, and we can continue to talk about it. But I just would say, like, in 2013, the Obama administration, went down this road with a Fox News reporter, and it was universally just totally, bashed by both sides at that point.
Media, when James Rosen's stuff was searched, no one in the mainstream media gave a crap.
Oh, that is not true. That is simply not true. But when President AOC shows up at certain doors, I'll remember this.
You can call me.
We disagree on
whatever island I'm on. You let me know if she becomes president. Don't worry about it.
Sean's living in France at that point. Yep.
All right, guys, let's take some questions.
We'll be taking Mandarin lessons if that happens.
Fun discussion, that one. Okay, let's get some questions. Yeah, okay. Absences in the House. Are members checking out on leadership? Are members checking out on leadership? Well, I think they were told this week by the whip's office that they either have to be dead themselves or it has to be a life-threatening situation in order for them not to vote. The problem, it sounds like, is that members are not listening. And there's a NBC reporter, Mel Zendona, who's been doing some good reporting about Wesley Hunt, right? Missing a ton of votes to go campaign down in Texas. And it's an issue. Corralling members, it's like corralling cats. Anyone want to add anything on this?
I just wonder if certain members, I remember Jim Jeffords when he switched, do certain members just say, I'm going to resign just to stick it because this is so dysfunctional? I mean, Sean, you've said it. If you do, you're on the
right. That's you had your shot. You missed it.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well just get your tombstone ready, but wow.
But there's two things that I think are missing here. I mean, and this goes to the question that Mike is asking. Number one, I said this earlier, when Johnson came back, he should have gotten the team together and done one of the rah-rah speeches. Denny Hassert used to do this, sort of the coach he should have gotten back and said, guys, look, we're a slim majority. I need you, let's be a team. I don't get the sense that there is a sense of team anymore. In fact, everybody feels emboldened to do what they want to do, quite the opposite. And number two is, I think this goes to the operation itself. The idea that you're telling members you can't, it's like the operation should know not just where they are, and get a sense of flights and schedules. But like this is no way to run a railroad. I just don't get, when you look at, like, they should be bringing somebody in, and then second, like, lastly, it's just the logistic. Where are the votes? As I said a moment ago, when you go read the quotes of members on the record saying no one even asked, that is just,
and they had some expletives with that statement.
right.
Some of them.
I get it, but member lies to you and says, I'm a yes, and they're a no. It's not the whip operations, but when you don't even ask, that's on them.
Also just realized this is Mike Reese. Hi, Mike. He worked for Vayner, if I'm not mistaken, right? Thanks for the question, Mike. We'll see you around town. Okay, let's bring up another question. Okay, why can't Justice Kenali Brown Jackson answer what is a woman? Still.
That was a great
Man, I don't. So I just, full disclosure, I saw this headline. I have not read the story. I know there was another thing yesterday about Josh Hawley interviewing a doctor who couldn't answer.
OBGYN.
Yeah, refused to answer if a man could be pregnant.
Oh, Lordy jeez.
I don't know. I certainly sounds like the Supreme Court's gonna ban, transgender sports.
Well,
it's
going to.
I don't know the backstory to
right.
that. Yeah.
I mean, look, she sounded so silly. I mean, just the way, so between Ketanji Brown Jackson's questioning and then the OBGYN that Josh Hawley was talking to, it was just, the thing that's so beautiful about this, it gets back to like the defund the police, is that when they cling to these like niche issues that the left then has to defend, it pushes people back to the Republican side.
Yeah, I was texting to the team about this the other day. It just takes me back to when I was 8 months pregnant and I was told I couldn't say I was I couldn't say pregnant woman in a story. I had to say pregnant person. And I was just like so angry about the whole thing that I wrote a really long memo to our standards editor at Politico and CC.
It sounds like Jerry Maguire.
People hate the media, but I digress. It just,
well,
it's a mission statement,
woman,
not a
guys,
memo.
not pregnant person, pregnant woman. Anyway,
Dana Perino said the other day on the 5 that people will look back, in 20 years at this period on this topic and think, what on earth were people thinking?
She's probably right.
It's just, right. I mean, but I will say on the right, the one thing that we have to, that sometimes folks on the right forget, is that like, if we don't stay vigilant on these issues, the left will win. And this to me is so like, the talk that I hear in corporate world these days, whether it's, pregnant people, or it's like, I want someone to be seen. I'm like, oh my God. It's just, it is mind blowing.
Yeah. Okay, let's take another question. I'm following the Verizon outage. Ooh,
yeah, me too.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
Living in New York City, our last Verizon outage was during the UN General Assembly. Have any of you heard rumblings of cyber attacks? Seems very suspicious.
For those who don't know, I live in New York City. Verizon, I have Verizon. The kids all have Verizon. It was the texts and we're working on Wi-Fi, but the phones went out all day. In fact, they went out again last night, and then they came back kind of late. And the first question we all had was, do you think Iran or, China or somebody, Russia, hacked into the phones? They say a satellite blew up in space, and that was the problem. They had.
I heard it was a server issue in New Jersey.
Yeah. What was Trump's thing? A fat person in their basement? I mean, who knows? Like, that was his line about, I think, the Russiagate stuff. WikiLeaks, actually. But I don't know, but it's crazy. It was a long day yesterday.
This is like, to me, this like, again, I go to crazy places sometimes, but like, it's like COVID, where we all get appalled by what happens. And then we go, okay, let's still buy more crap from China. Like, no one learns their lesson. And we had an AT&T outage. Now we've got a Verizon outage, whether it's a satellite or a server in New Jersey. The notion that we are so vulnerable, to me, should be a wake-up call. Like, whether, again, critical minerals, like all of this stuff, PPE, pharma, it's like we sit around and we go, God, that's horrible. Okay, tomorrow, like, it's like,
let me ask both of you guys, do you guys have a landline?
No. Yes.
Hell no.
Yes.
No.
Well, because we had one installed because when the earthquake happened in DC, you remember, cell phones went out. And so a landline in an emergency when the cells are out is a way for people to reach each other.
Do you remember?
I have one, but it's actually for my studio. But I technically do.
Yeah.
Also, I got a ham radio in the basement that I use to talk to truckers.
Do you
Kind of pipe
remember
and an
like a
ascot, you're
year?
ready to go.
This reminds me, do you remember it was maybe a year ago, maybe a little longer, when Mike Turner, who was the Intelligence Committee chair, came out and said there's a huge security risk that needs to be declassified so the American people know. And I don't know that it was ever declassified, but somebody leaked it, classified information there, Sean. And it turned out that it was like something about Russians putting nukes in space and the concern about satellites. And the big worry was that they could like basically force some sort of blackout someday, like could get to a position where they could force some sort of mass blackout of cell service. And just like thinking at that time, oh my God, what would happen if we had like,
again,
more than that,
it was scary. But
I mean, I'm pretty certain here that we and some of our adversaries are embedded in the energy networks, in the telecommunications networks, and in the internet infrastructure that, should we or they ever feel the need, could cause a ton of sticks in the wheel of our country. And I believe our own intelligence has said they have cyber worms in our energy grid.
Well, what do you? I mean, again,
doing
open source material on this one, but the reports of what happened in Venezuela. I mean,
totally.
If you haven't read, by the way, the Daily Wire and a couple others, I reposted it just so that I would always have a record of it. What went on down there and the firsthand accounts, it was insane.
The
idea of our
capabilities, or whatever,
huh?
The way we took out basically their electricity and everything to render them black in the jungle, like
right. But I say that because I actually think our adversaries probably have as well, Dan, like the ability to come in. And this gets back to, I mean, this is like why people are preppers, like having food, having money, having water set aside. Like, I don't think it's crazy. I think the idea of understanding how vulnerable we are is actually something that the government's hiding from. I mean, like if you really like,
they're not hiding. I think they just don't want panic.
But panic or prepared. You tell people how to get ready for a fire, or, here's what you do in the event of an emergency. Why not say, hey, put aside 5 jugs of water because you never know how vulnerable the water system is, or have some kind of food source. I don't think it's crazy. I think it's smart.
Do you have like a panic sort of room, or like, what would you call it? Not a panic room. That's not the right phrase, Sean, but like, do you have like a bunch of stuff stored in case of?
I will just say that my family is prepared should anything happen to not only survive but defend us should any unwanted folks try to come into our.
I will say,
got it.
I will say after 9/11, Sean, you may have done this. People. My family lived in D.C. My father, God rest his soul, was a corporate lawyer, was a planner. Got us all packs that if D.C. were attacked, we would all, we had a rendezvous point like 20 miles out in Maryland, and we all had packs that had water, a little bit of food, and like a tin foil, like, after a marathon or something you put on that was supposed to help you from radiation in case, because the government, everyone in DC and in New York was afraid if nuclear bomb went off. What are you doing?
Did you take that pack around with you? Like,
it was in the back of our cars. Again, God bless my father. He was a planner. He was serious. He's like, you should all carry this.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were go, especially after 9/11, it was a big deal to have go kits.
Yep. Of course, the bomb went off, getting in our car, getting out of Washington, but that's all right. It's thank you, Dad.
Benjamin, thank you for this question. Really interesting conversation. Let's do one more. Okay, question. How many Dems are going to sign onto the bill introduced by Rep, how do you say his name? Is it Tandar? Yeah, to abolish ICE. Okay.
He is one strange dog.
I don't think we have any more time and have to go. Thanks for watching, everyone. More than I would like.
On the,
more than I would like. That's the quote right there for Don.
He's on the
more than I would like. I believe Hakeem Jeffries has not publicly definitively said, which tells you something. Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. That number is going to get high,
skyrocket. Yeah.
I will say though, because this actually maybe something for tomorrow or another day. Actually, maybe we could ask Roe this. I think the argument to not increase ICE funding above the big, beautiful bill, so like where the baseline is the term today, is a good argument because they just got a massive increase. But man, even frontliners have started telling leadership, do not make us vote to defund that.
By the way,
budget.
Quick question. Yes or no, does Trump invoke the Insurrection Act?
I feel like maybe if I looked at Google, there's an answer already.
I'm gonna say my answer is whatever your answer is, Sean, because I think you know certain things that we don't, maybe, about things that might happen in this
classified
administration.
information. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no, just to be a good.
Sean, what's your answer?
No for now.
Okay. Okay,
This
then
is
that's
like
my answer. No for
10
now.
Well, no. But I mean, to me, this is like Iran domestically. Like once you do that, you don't know how that's gonna like that could really go wrong. And I think he knows that. But if these things, I say that because if Minnesota gets out of control, and remember, he lived through a lot of the Black Lives Matter violence and vandalism, etc. I don't think he understands how this thing is a tinderbox, but I do think if Minnesota goes, or Minneapolis in particular, goes way crazy, then all bets are off.
Watch Amy Klobuchar.
We shall see. Okay, we are out of time. Sean, today's your panel day, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Thursday panel. Rachel, you got to say it with excitement. It's your panel day. Sean.
It's the panel day.
Yes.
Let's get ready to humble.
Like Thursday.
Right,
it's
Thursday.
panel day.
Yeah. Hey, you've got a newsletter.
Who do you have, Sean?
Thank you, Dan. Well, Dan.
Oh, God, now I'm the bad
First
guy.
up, Steve Cortez, my old buddy, he's going to be joining us, and then Ashley Bransfield and Reagan Reese, both from the Daily Caller. They've got some great reporting that we'll break down, and obviously a lot of these fun questions. And just a big thank you to the entire community yesterday. The book Trump 2.0 went way up Amazon's list, and I appreciate everybody that supported it. I put the link in the chat and everything, but it's available for pre-order. And thank you guys for all your support between this.
Sean, how do you compare to recent press secretaries?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I'm just
2 months out. I
know,
believe my
for those keeping score at home.
Yeah, I believe my Amazon rank went higher than KGP's after she launched her book. Yeah, it was but that's again, thank you.
But that's only 24 hours. I mean, that's
and I'm
2+
months out from my launch, and but
okay.
And I'm not whining about Joe Biden.
You would never do that.
Yeah.
Rachel, when's the next newsletter?
It
What
came
do
out
you have one?
night.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mentioned this in the show. I'm going to have a piece about this, Republicans and this angst amongst a lot of Republicans about the continued discussion about healthcare and the sort of push to move on, to focus on other things because they can't get anything passed, and why drag this out? So subscribe at RachelBade.com, RachelBade.com, and you'll be able to read more about that.
By the way, we haven't talked about it, but Trump will release a White House healthcare plan as he stated, or do we think that never sees the day?
I don't know.
I think there'll be some broad contours around the State of the Union.
Okay,
yeah,
all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's going to be stuff he's already said before, like money going to people's pockets and not to insurance companies. Like, he's not leaning in on this, and it's hard to imagine that he would at this point, but we'll see. Okay, and just a reminder, we're going to have Rokana on tomorrow. It's going to be fun. So everybody join us and send us your questions, because he's going to be staying with us for the bulk of the show, which will be fabulous.
And if it's Friday, we got to do winners, losers, or up, down. Yep.
And then lastly, again, if you're a premium member, we're going to start that conversation, post-show conversation, tomorrow. So get ready to join us.
Hey,
It'll be
the
fun.
Daily Fix, if you go to Amazon, I'm seeing in the chat, just I think I'll post it again in the chat right now. There's the link. It's in the chat, but it's on Amazon, and I put the link there to help you out. So thanks.
And you know what, Sean? I've thought about it. I am going to outfit change for the post show, just to give it
like a velour sweatsuit, maybe like that.
I mean, we're gonna have to see. Tune in.
I vote for sequins for you. Gold sequins.
My wife loves sequins.
Me too.
I do like a good sequin.
Loves it.
But I think we should get velour tracksuits. That's what I vote for.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Okay. Maybe for a future show.
Cozy Earth, if you're listening. All right.
Oh.
See y'all tomorrow.
All right, guys. We
Have a
will
good
see you
one.
tomorrow at 8:30.